Thank you all for attending our open house event. This is the first event that we're holding in this way. And so we're excited to have you all here and hear from you. I'll just give you a little bit of how this will go. So we have a few speakers today. We have some of our awesome MSW alumni speaking to you all today. We have financial aid, we have LSU online, and we have our Office of Field Education in the virtual house to talk to you about our MSW program and our opportunities for prospective students like you. To get started, I'll introduce myself. I've talked to many of you already. My name is Frankie Johnson. Dean, I just got married. I am an alum of the program. I graduated in 2017 with my MSW. And then after that, I started working for the School of Social Work about 6 months later in student services, and now I am the assistant director for student services. So what I get to do is interact with students or potential students all over the country through our online program and in Baton Rouge through our campus program, and it's so fun. I love what I do, and it really goes to show you what you can do with a career in social work. So I'm going to jump right in, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of who we are and what we do here at LSU. Oh. All right. LSU is a R1 university, and the School of Social Work has been providing social work education since 1937 in Baton Rouge, and more recently in the last 5 to 10 years, we have been doing online education all throughout the country, which has been amazing. Our program is accredited by the CSWE, which is the Council on Social Work Education. That is one of the most important things that you'll look for when you're looking at any MSW program. Make sure that they are accredited by the CSWE. No matter where you go to school, that's important for your licensure post MSW. So you want to make sure they are accredited any school that you look at. But of course, we want you to stay with us. The School of Social Work overall has about 800 people in it total. That is students, staff, BSW, PhD, and of course our MSW students. The most students that we have in the largest population are our online students who are, like I mentioned, all over the country. So we love interacting with people in Alaska and Nevada, and right here in Baton Rouge who decide to stay home and do online education. And then we love to welcome students onto campus as they choose to do so as well. And we'll talk about both of those just a little bit before I introduce our alumni speakers. With our campus program, the numbers are a bit smaller now that so many people choose to do online, which is great for our campus students because they have the opportunity to interact with their instructors in a much more intimate way. I'll tell you right now, with COVID this semester, most of our classes are held online for our campus students, with the exception of 2 or 3 courses that meet in some type of a modified format. So we are planning for fall to be up and running and to be back on campus, and we hope to have everybody there because we so miss getting to see our students and interacting with them. But students complete internships in the program on campus concurrently with coursework. So you jump right in with the campus program. You're in class 2 days per week from 8:30 or 7:30 to 3:30. And then you intern 2 days per week. So you are really with us for 4 days working on your MSW as a campus student. There are part-time options and full-time options. Full-time students typically finish in 4 semesters. So the 2-year traditional grad school program that you are probably familiar with. There are specialization opportunities that are available to our campus students. We have some wonderful specializations, one in child and youth services, which is what I did when I was in the program, a specialization in gerontology, a specialization in school social work, and a brand new specialization in policy. Those are exciting. Those our students in their second year are able to focus and do a specialization. They do their internship based on the population that that specialization is geared toward. And then you take electives that are geared toward those specializations as well. So in that way, our campus students are able to do some things that our online students may not be able to. There are also dual degree opportunities for our campus students. So our campus students could choose to do an MPH and an MSW or a JD and an MSW. So those are exciting opportunities as well. Students who do the MPH, if you live in Baton Rouge, you would have to commute to New Orleans for that part of the program, for that part of your education anyway. Tuition is about $7,000 a semester. I factor in books when I think about that. And we're going to talk a little bit with financial aid in a bit, and they'll be able to give you a better breakdown of the cost and what tuition looks like as a campus student. For our online program, so we're going to forget everything we know about semesters. Our online program is module based. Each module is 7 weeks long. There's a break, a week break, and then you jump right into your next module. So there's 6 modules per year, and we also have 6 start dates per year. And you'll see on this slide, I have all of the deadlines and start dates for 2021 listed. So jot those down if you want. If you're an advanced standing student or applicant, you would want to apply for the July 5th start date. So with our online program, it is asynchronous, so you don't have to be at the computer at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, but you will have weekly assignments and deadlines. You still have group projects. You do get to interact with your instructors. Instructors do have virtual office hours, and you're able to set appointments as you need. So you do still get student interaction and instructor interaction as an online student. Of course, students in online programs would need to be a bit more self-driven to do that. You are working independently oftentimes, and we're actually going to hear from an alum from our online program in a bit, so that's going to be great, and I'm excited to hear from her. We always tell our online students that you should plan to spend about 15 hours per week on your coursework if you're doing full-time classes in our online program. A full-time student would take 2 courses per module. A part-time student would take 1 course per module. Some people start off part-time and they say, okay, well, I may be able to incorporate 2 courses into my life and into my time. Then we can change that for you. The biggest thing with our online students is communication is key to their success. Communication with our student services team, who act as your advisors, and then our field office once you're in internship. So tuition is a little bit different, and we are going to hear about that later as well. Tuition is $5.39 per credit hour. So for our entire 60-hour program, you would be looking at about $33,000. Now, of course, that doesn't include books, and there's a graduation fee, but there's really no hidden fees. I always have that question. Is that it? That's it? That's it. And so we will, like I said, hear from financial aid in a bit, but that is a little of our online program. Next, you heard me mention advanced standing. With our advanced standing students, those students have a BSW from a CSWE accredited school. They graduated within 5 years of applying. After 5 years, your BSW credits will no longer be able to be waived into our program. And you have to receive all A's and B's in those core social work courses, which I listed on this slide for you guys. So you're going to want to look at your courses. Now you could retake one. Say you were early in your social work BSW and you didn't do so well in one of your classes. You could always retake it and then apply to our program. Eligibility, like I said, is contingent on having at least a B in those core social work courses. For our campus program, we only have 1 start date per year. And for advanced standing, the deadline is March 1st. So make sure you write that down. If you're interested in campus advanced standing, you want to get those applications in like today or tomorrow. And then if you are applying for our 60-hour campus program, the deadline is March 31st. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see all of you. and I am going to introduce some really great people. With us, we have Sherrard Crespo, Sophia. I don't know how to say your married name. She just got married. Sophia and I actually went to undergrad for our BSW together, and she just finished our online MSW program. So she was Sophia Garcia Morel when I knew her in undergrad. And then we also have Miss Laura Van Swam, who's with us, that also graduated our MSW campus program. So, ladies, whichever one of you would like, please start by just sharing a little bit about yourself and what made you choose LSU, what made you choose social work. We're excited to hear from you. And also, you guys, you can always put questions in the chat and I'll ask. So after each segment, we'll go over those questions. So please feel free to shoot those questions my way and I will make sure that we ask those.
I can go first.
Awesome. Hey, Sophia.
Hey, like she said, my name is Sophia. My last name is Jaconi. That's how you say it, Jaconi. And so I went to Southeastern for my undergrad. So I already knew I wanted to go get my master's for social work. But I graduated in 2016. So I did take a little break. And to be honest with y'all, I was at Tulane for like a month or so, but I just graduated. It was the first time in my life where my mom, no one's telling me what to do. So it was just like kind of like a nerve-wracking time in my life because I was like, do I want to do social work? What do I want to do? So I ended up dropping from the program just because I wanted to make sure I was absolutely positive. And then a few years later, well, that same year, at the end of the year in 2017, I got pregnant and I had a baby. And I was like, okay, I am definitely going back to school. Like, this is a great time for me to do it. And I decided to go with LSU. One, because it's way more affordable. And that's not speaking badly about Tulane. The program's awesome. But when it comes to social work, I just feel like it shouldn't be that expensive to get the degree. And LSU is very affordable and the program's really good. And I did online. I chose online because I am from Metairie. I live in Harahan now. And there was no way I was going to be driving every single day. But also being a mom, I was like, well, if I want to stay at home, then I need to do it online. And I'm not gonna lie, it is tough doing online schooling. Um, I got my undergrad degree in person classes, and that is like a different experience. However, when you want something and you need to get it done, you're gonna get it done. I feel like if you are thinking about doing online because of maybe the distance or maybe you live in a different state, I 100% looking into it more because it is a good opportunity and really all you need is discipline, but you're also able to work. And I feel like a lot of people who do online, they do it because they need to work still. And you're going to be able to do that. You're just going to have to sacrifice some nights, maybe some weekends, but it's doable. And like they said, 15 hours a week. I feel like you really need to do it every single day or you will get behind. I got behind sometimes. And so my weekends were like, okay, you have to, like, I would tell my husband, you have to watch him because I have to do so much schoolwork. But I think it is a great program. Everyone's always so helpful. And what I really love about LSU is that all of the teachers or professors, they're not only the teachers and professors, but they're also social workers. So they're very compassionate and they're understanding to even their students. They're going to treat us just like they would treat a client professionally, but also understanding that things happen. And that's what I really loved it. I'm so excited that I'm a Tiger, LSU Tiger alumni. So that's just my little bit.
Thank you, Sophia. And like I said, Sophia and I went to undergrad together, and it was just so cool. Like when I saw her name, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Sophia. And so I was her advisor, but like she didn't need much advising, but she was great in our online program. And she's going to do amazing things in social work. And Sophia, when did you graduate?
I just graduated in December.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
so
she's an
right now it's
undergrad.
like got to study for the exam and stuff.
Yeah. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hey, Laura, you ready to share?
Sure. Hi, my name is Laura Van Zwam. I graduated from the campus program. I was a full-time student in 2017. I was also a thesis student. I didn't do any specializations, did some absolutely incredible internships. I cannot say enough good things about LSU. I initially went to LSU because it was convenient. My husband was a professor there, and we obviously lived in the neighborhood. So that's why I chose LSU. But it ended up being super affordable. And I really this is not like a fluff piece. I really grew there as a person. And I felt like the environment was really warm. I didn't love every class, but there are some classes that I still use like to this day in everyday practice. So um, yeah, it was a really good experience for me, way better than my undergrad experience. And I would definitely recommend it to anyone who wants to go into social work. Especially the internships prepared me for the really tough stuff that I was going to see later in my job as a real life social worker. I think Louisiana as a state, as far as culture, diversity, socioeconomic difference, is really a great way to cut your teeth as a social worker. There's so many people in Louisiana who need your help, and they're always grateful to have somebody who helps them out with compassion and understanding. And I feel like the LSU social work department really sets you up to succeed in that kind of environment. Should I talk about what I do now?
Yes, please share with us what you're doing now.
Okay, so right after graduation, I went and I worked at the East Louisiana Mental Health System for just under a year. Highly recommend that. I don't know if they're still doing internships there, but it was incredible environment and once in a lifetime experience to do forensics. I love forensics. I wish I could go back to forensics. I would if I could. Then my family moved to the Netherlands, so I'm here now. And I took a little time off to learn the language. I worked a year and a half with advocacy for refugees as they told their stories. I kind of went into the room with them and helped them through that. So a lot of trauma work and a little bit of judicial work and advocacy. That was all volunteers. So then I got my big girl job in the Netherlands, and now I'm a social worker. I work in a team of 15 other social workers, and we manage 3 group homes and 20 clients who live independently, and I'm mostly bike mounted, which is super cool. What I realized was, like, when I was searching for jobs here, was that the LSU diploma, the MSW, was really well respected. They saw that master's degree and they just jumped on it. And a lot of the jobs I didn't get were about soft factors like language, but I got my foot in the door a lot because of that master's diploma. And I do feel like the LSU education gave me enough background in different kinds of diverse circumstances that I was able to really adapt well to a new cultural environment.
That's great, Laura. And I think you will do forensic social work again. You may, you could do that in so many different ways. And it sounds like you are still doing that in a little bit, or that you got to do some of it in that volunteer work. So I
Yeah.
think that's great. And it's so cool that you're in the Netherlands right now to me.
Yeah, it's different. It definitely is. And if anybody has questions about social work in the Netherlands, you can always shoot me an email.
Awesome. Okay, Sherrard, what you got?
Hey everyone. So my name is Sherrod Crespo. I graduated with Frankie and Laura from the on campus program. I went to Southeastern for undergrad with nothing to do with social work. I got a bachelor's degree in communications that I actually use in my job now, so it all worked out. But I graduated from undergrad in 2011 and took some time to just kind of figure out what I wanted to do and decided I wanted to help people and kind of looked at, what type of jobs would allow me to do that. And it seemed like getting my MSW would really allow me to enter into that helping profession. I lived in Baton Rouge and I wanted to go to school in person. So I chose LSU um, and absolutely loved it. I went full time on campus, did the 2-year program. I did work while I did the on campus program. So that is possible, but it is very hard. I would go regularly, like 30 hours without sleeping. But I think that you do get a lot of support from your professors, from my fellow classmates. I mean, truly, like when I would nod off in class because I hadn't slept for 2 days, someone would just kind of elbow me awake, and I never got in a lot of trouble from any professors or anything like that, because they know what it's like to go through the MSW program. They are social workers. They are working. Um, so I mean, I just really can't say enough good things about the program, and especially the internship opportunities that LSU provides are so important and so special. They really get you prepared professionally to be an active social worker. My second year internship was with the Crisis Intervention Center, and that is absolutely where I found my passion with working with suicide on all aspects: prevention, intervention, postvention, advocacy, education. And I mean, I say I literally just refused to leave after we graduated and just kind of stayed on, maybe a little bit creepily, and then they found a position for me. And it was wonderful. I think LSU really teaches you that if you work really hard, you can make what you want out of your career. And I've been able to do that since I graduated. Never left an agency, got in a position and kind of just worked extra to craft the position into what I wanted it to be. And now it teaches you to roll with the punches because, as many of you may know, the Crisis Intervention Center had to close its doors. And I took a leap of faith and joined on with Via Link, who was absorbing all of the crisis lines from Crisis Intervention Center. And that has been a wonderful choice. I knew no matter what, I had my MSW, so I can try this. And if it doesn't work, that's okay. But it worked out wonderfully. I still get to work with suicide and have grown in my profession to now doing a lot of advocacy work in Louisiana, training people to work on suicide intervention lines, training other agencies on how to work with suicide. I still do a support group for survivors of suicide loss, and we're starting a new support group for teens actually with suicide ideation. So, and I think LSU just teaches you that you can always keep growing, you can always keep learning, you can just work really hard, and teaches you how to network and keep in touch with your fellow social workers, and to know that even though all of our careers and our professions can be so diverse, we can always interweb to make sure that there's a continuum of care for everybody in our community. So getting your MSW is really, really rewarding. It can be hard at times, and you can feel like you're like crazy because you're working really hard and you're not sleeping. But the relationships you make and the way that you graduate and you get to do a dream job for most of us. You work hard, but you love what you do every day, and that's invaluable.
That's such excellent points that you made, Sherrod. And this is what's funny is I met Sherrod when I was in my BSW internship, and she was in her first year MSW internship at a recovery center in Baton Rouge. And so I went in as an advanced standing student, and I already knew someone that was currently in the program, and that was really cool for me. So I'm going to flip. We have some questions. Okay, the first one's for Sophia. How long did it take you, Sophia, to finish the online program?
So I was an advanced standing student, and one of the good things, I'm not sure who's watching or if you're still in undergrad, but one of the good things about being an undergrad social work is they're very adamant about letting you know what grades you need to get into advanced standing. So I just try to make sure I did that. And so When you're in advanced standing, you kind of like skip the first year. But since I was on doing the online program, I started in July of 2019 and I graduated in December 2020. So, however many months that is, but it wasn't that long. So yeah,
And I think, Sophia, you may have done some part-time in that sometimes as well.
I
So
did.
it just depends, with our online program, what's so great, it's not 100% flexible and everything's customizable to you, but there are some things that we are able to tailor to you. If you are working and you do want to do a part-time internship, we can make that happen. We can work with you to do that. Our field office is amazing at placing our students. And then part-time classes, if you wanted to do that, of course, it may take a little longer to finish our program, but if that's what's feasible for you, that's what you have to do. And I think that was some stuff, Sophia, I remember you and I working back and forth with your program
Yeah.
of study, planning and everything like that. And so that's what we do, and that's what student services does for our students. So absolutely, you really can't estimate, as every time frame is a little different. With an online student, they could finish in 2 years doing full-time classes and the full-time 40-hour per week internship. But sometimes life happens. We know that we have so many students who they have babies while they're in our program, so they want to take some time away, or other life events, COVID, those things happen. And so we're here to help plan for our students in those situations, our campus students as well. But we do what we can to help our students succeed. And so yeah, Sophia was just a little bit over a year, but not bad, right? It flew by, right?
Flew by.
Yeah. Okay, Laura, did you have to retest when you went to the Netherlands?
I did not. So the Netherlands, they don't license their social workers. They have a BSW equivalent and then after schooling. So that's like a specialization period. Because my MSW was so clinical and had the opportunity to go on to do clinical work, I had enough background that I was able to go work in a medical setting. So it really, the bar for an American social worker is much higher than it is here. And at the same time, this is also worth saying, I'm still licensed in the state of Pennsylvania, and the bar for a Louisiana social worker is so high that I just had to sign up. I didn't have to retest for Pennsylvania either. So that's, two good things to know, I guess.
Yeah, that is really great, because we do have students all over the country. And, that's one of the questions I get all the time is what does licensure look like? We do have about an 86% pass rate on the first try for the LMSW. And so like Sophia is about to take hers soon, and she's going to pass it on her first try. And we know that. And so, that's so important to know. Now, it's also important to note that for all of our online students, there may be state-specific requirements. Like California has some other courses that you may need to take, and you can take those typically through their state licensure board or some other organization that they have a relationship with. So you always want to check your state licensure. We will not give you guidance on that, because every state is different. I'm an expert in Louisiana licensure because I'm an LCSW. I am not an expert in Pennsylvania licensure. And so we do have those listed though on our website if you want to check those out to see what the requirements are. And of course, those could be developing as well. So it's something to pay attention to. I tell people that before they even fill out the application, check your state social work licensure board, just because it's super important. So Laura, you raised a great point. Okay, here's a question I think for everyone. What is the course load for the MSW program like? Essays, exams, group exams, and what was the toughest course you took? Anybody want to share their toughest course that they took?
Um, I think, well, I don't know. I think maybe the toughest course, but I also really loved it was the DSM course, and of course, it carries you through a lot as you graduate and do work. But I probably had to put the most like studying and effort into projects and essays in that class, but it was all really important, and I did enjoy doing the work.
I'll also say I thought DSM and also statistics courses were a little bit on the more challenging side, but for me, like the literal hardest course was grief and bereavement. They put you through the ringer as far as like opening you up emotionally to your core to really understand what it is like to be with someone in grief. And there were a lot of courses like that, particularly during my second year, that delved really deep. But as far as the coursework, I thought it was really reasonable, but I had a spouse who supported me through my studies. So if you have to work, I can see Sherrod worked. I can imagine it would be a ton to do. Totally possible, I'm sure, because she pulled through. And if you're lucky enough not to have to work full time, I think it's very reasonable to go full time for your MSW.
And what about you, Sophia? What is your thoughts on your toughest course and what the coursework was like for you?
So, I didn't think the DSM was the toughest course, but only because I really enjoyed the class. So I think time-wise, they were all really tough because in the online course, you have 7 weeks to complete a class. So it's very quick. I want to say that the hardest class was the research class, not because it was hard, but because, to be honest, I just wasn't that interested. Or maybe it was the grant writing course that I took, because I thought it was going to be something different. I thought it was going to be like statistics. I don't know if you remember the statistics class we took in undergrad, but I love statistics. I was like teaching the class. Like I was not teaching the class, but I was helping people because I just loved that class. So I thought the grant writing was going to be that, but it wasn't. And I just had a hard time because you're creating a grant for something that doesn't really exist. So I had a hard time with that. And then, yeah, I think just the online is just what makes it tough is the time constraint that you have for each class. It's really quick and you just have to be on top of it.
And I agree. It's so funny that you say that because the grant writing course she's talking about is a course in your specialist year. That's like the second part of research. And I love that course. Didn't like the first one, but I'm terrible at math and stats wasn't my favorite. And Sophia probably helped me with stats. So, there's something for everybody, and I think that's worth saying. So many people I talk to are like terrified of stats, and that's our only prerequisite to our program. And so I'm glad you brought that up because it can be tough and everybody finds their own niche in some way. And I do agree with you with the online format. The 7 weeks is intensive. And so that's why we try to tell our students, make sure you're ready, make sure you're prepared. That's the biggest thing. I'll jump right into this next. And I'll also tell you guys, with our online program, you'll have quizzes, tests, essays, papers. It's the same as far as like assignments and things. That's the same. Interactive. I saw somebody ask if there was any interaction. You have group projects in the online program. I don't know if that's really a recruiting point because who likes group projects? But, it is worth saying you do get to interact and you do get to make relationships with people in your program. One of our new student services advisors, Courtney Jackson, she's on this call. She was an online student and she made great relationships. She shared with us during her time in the program. And so it's worth saying you could meet people all over the country and you'll be working with someone, that's all over the place. So that could be anywhere. Okay, I have a question for Laura. Laura, thanks for sharing. I too have always wanted to work abroad, but figured that it would be much more difficult to do with social work as there are huge governmental and societal differences, especially within healthcare and social work. Were there a lot of hoops and things you had to jump through? And then is it also common for people to pursue social work in other countries? You might not know that one.
Yeah, I don't know about other people. There were a lot of hoops. I don't want to take up your time going into my whole life story. I did have to learn the language, so I do work in Dutch. And I'll just say, if you really want to go dive deep into my experience, I invite you to shoot me an email. Like, I have plenty of time I'm on vacation now, so I can answer any emails you want to send. Should I give them my email?
Yes, feel free.
Okay, that I'll just type it in the chat actually, and you can definitely, we can even go deeper. You could give me a call or whatever. I just don't want to take up too much of everybody's time.
That's awesome, Laura. Thank you for that. So let's see. Any other questions specifically for our alumni? This is our first time having them on a call, and it's been so wonderful. And I'm so grateful because I've had interactions with these people in classes and now as professionals. So that's been excellent. And I want to thank any closing remarks from any of you three.
Just that it is LSU's MSW program really is a wonderful program where you will grow personally and professionally, and again, get set up in a way to have a career that you're passionate about, which a lot of people don't have. And that's something that's really important.
Absolutely.
Go to LSU. You will have a great time and it will change your life and you'll be a better person for it. Please go, I beg you. It'll be the best choice you've made.
My just closing remark is that obviously if you live in another state, there's probably awesome internships, but if you're in Louisiana, definitely LSU is the way to go because they have such great connections. They have so many internship opportunities. I got to work at the VA, and the VA is like, even though they're one of the biggest places for interns, they don't accept all schools, and LSU is one of the schools that they accept. So to me, that means a lot. So if you're thinking about it, choose LSU.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I know two of you are in Louisiana and we've been dealing with the winter storm. Laura's in the Netherlands living her best life, biking to see her clients, and that's so cool. So I thank you guys so much.
Also, like through a winter storm last week.
I can't even imagine, Laura. I can't. So thank y'all so much for coming and tuning in with us and answering our questions. And Laura, thank you for sharing your contact information with our prospective students as well. Next, we have Kara McCoy from LSU Online. So our program is through LSU School of Social Work, but we have some awesome partners in LSU Online that help support our students. They are wonderful. Some of you may have already been in contact with them at this point if you've ever started an application. And so I'm just going to throw it right over to Kara. And once again, we're going to do questions after she shares.
Thank you so much, Frankie. I am going to go ahead and share my screen with you real quick, so just bear with me. I did put together a little PowerPoint, and are we seeing the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go over with y'all the student life cycle of an LSU Online student. Basically, because it is a little bit different than the on-campus student. Like Frankie had said before, you're doing the exact same coursework, you're going to be doing the same assignments, but the format is very different. I do want to go over my role and some of the differences right off the bat. Frankie did a really good job pointing out the 6 start dates a year, which social work is going to have very different start dates and deadlines compared to the graduate school and other programs. So if you have any questions on those, feel free to contact me or LSU Online to go more in depth about which start date would be the best for you and any questions you may have. With that being said, you also have different timelines of completion. So our advanced standing students are typically going to complete this program in 1 year to 2 years. And our full generalist students are going to be 2 years to 4 years to completion. Another main difference is our social work program online through the School of Social Work is the generalist Masters of Social Work program versus having specializations. So it's going to be that broader field of social work. So my name is Kara McCoy. I am an enrollment concierge through LSU Online. So we partner with each of the departments to assist incoming students and current students in their journey as an LSU Online student. My main focus is with the Department of Social Work, and then I do also back up the other humanities programs. And then my coworkers are Brittany Randall and Caitlin Simpson. They both work with our social work students as well. So if you call in, you will be speaking to one of us three with all of your questions and concerns. And then as a student of the social work program, you will also be assigned a learner concierge. And I'm going to go more in depth of what our roles mean because you see concierge and you're like, what? Um, so I'll explain what we do more in depth for you and this Department of Social Work, but you'll be assigned your learner concierges. So these are just for you to have a face to a name whenever you do speak with us, because we will speak with you quite a bit via phone call, via email, via Zoom, if that's what you would prefer. Um, so the first step as an LSU Online student, if you're showing interest, you will go ahead and visit our website, online.lsu.edu, and fill out a contact form. What happens then is you will almost immediately get a call from one of our enrollment coordinators. What their job is to figure out which program it is that you're interested. In your case, it's going to be social work. They're going to figure out your motivation, your admissibility, which if you qualify. So have you taken that statistics course? Do you meet the GPA requirements? All of those types of things. Once they gather that information, they go ahead and send you on over to me. What I'm going to do is use that information to help you figure out when's going to be the best start date, what we need to gather for your application process, and then I'm going to be there to answer any questions that you may have regarding the format, the application process, the online program. Once we do that, me and you are going to work together, whether it be daily, weekly, monthly. I will call you, I will email you, but I'm not going to sell you. So a lot of times people will be like, well, you're trying to get me to do this program. No, no, no. I'm trying to do what's best for you, whatever works best for you. So if you're interested in the Master of Social Work program, we're going to get you where you need to be. So I'm going to help you with that research. I'm going to help you with that application process step by step. Make sure you have every document you need for the application process. If you don't already have that statistics course, I'm going to give you some suggestions on which statistics class to take. Frankie, Denise, Tara have all been really great and helpful with us in determining those pre-approved options. And then as we get done with the application process, I'm going to stay in constant contact with you. And then finally, once a decision is made, you will no longer be working with me as your enrollment concierge. You will go to your next step of support, which is a learner concierge. So your learner concierge is going to be your boots on the ground. So for those of you that are not in Louisiana, that can't come to campus to do whatever you need to do, you're going to have your learner concierge there as your support system alongside your academic advisor, alongside your field experience coordinator. So they're going to be there to constantly remind you about scheduling your courses, because those 7 weeks, they come fast. And so at the midterm, they're going to start reminding you, okay, course registration's coming up. We need to get those courses scheduled, complete that registration. They're going to remind you to contact financial aid and complete your FAFSA as that comes around. So they're going to be your extra support as an online student. So it is going to be difficult. They've said it time and time again. It's going to be difficult to do because you have to have that self-discipline, but you will also have that next level of support as an LSU online student. And they're going to stay with you from the day you start the classes until graduation. And the time being, if COVID permits, we have another graduation ceremony. As an LSU online student, you get to walk across that stage with the on-campus graduates. So that is an incredible sight to see. We get to meet you after graduation. LSU Online holds our own graduation ceremony celebration after. So we have a reception that you get to come meet us. You get to meet the department, the instructors that you've been working with this whole time. So we really love to see that. And another massive, massive question that we get as an LSU Online is, what's my diploma going to say? I'm doing this social work program at LSU. I'm doing the exact same courses as all the on-campus students. Will my diploma say LSU Online? And it won't. You're going to earn that master's of social work degree from Louisiana State University. So there is no difference when it comes to that. So that's going to be something that's really helpful to you when it does come to job searching. Also, as an LSU Online student, you will have a lot of support options. What's listed here are available to our online students. So you're going to have those disability services. You're going to have access to the Career Center. You're going to have access to financial aid, libraries, military services. And whenever COVID isn't here, we also have access to some sports. So recently we've been doing football tickets for our online students. You'll have access to online tutoring and study strategies. So there are a ton of support options there for you as an online student, even though you're not paying all those extra fees. So it's a really great option. I'm going to go ahead and leave it for questions. I know I ran through that really quickly. I have listed our phone number and our email address for any questions that you may have that aren't going to go in the chat. But yeah, feel free to go ahead, give us these questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see all of you again and answer any questions that may have come up. All right, let's see. So are there any questions? Has anybody had any other questions? Do the professors use video lectures? They try not to. Each instructor has their own choice on what they provide in the courses. Frankie, Tara, Denise, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do know typically our course designers try to steer them away from long video lectures. They're not productive. They're not helpful whenever they're super long. So if you do have any, it might be 5, 10, 15 minutes, nothing too crazy.
Yeah, I agree, Kara. I think that our instructors try to engage the students, so they may provide some type of videos at some point, but definitely not like full lectures of them teaching in a classroom or anything like that. One thing I thought was interesting that Kara said and mentioned, and something I get asked all the time, is, will my diploma say that I was an online student? It's important to note it will not. You will get a degree from LSU. It will say MSW, Master of Social Work. And their reception after graduation is excellent. It's super fun. We have a little thing beforehand where we help you guys put on your cap and gown, and we love to meet you guys and things like that. So we do try to welcome you in, give you a little swag, just things that you may not get, that our campus students sometimes get. So that's what's really great with LSU Online too. I think they even did one of their the last reception like in Tiger Stadium or something, which was super cool, because that's another thing about our program. We do have a pretty good football team.
Yeah, for sure. And I did see a question for Geraldine. I'm not sure if you're looking for online or on campus, but if you graduate in December, there probably won't be a chance for you to do in January. It really depends on when your degree is conferred and when you get all of your documents in. So typically your deadline for next January is going to be October 18th. It's always the start date of the term before. So it's going to be pushing it. I would say you'd be more likely to start in the March start versus the January start, but there are 6 starts. So you'll be able to start fairly quickly after graduation.
Absolutely. And I saw, this is not for you, Kara, but Ariel asked, do our campus students have those same opportunities? Our campus students, we do a reception for you guys for graduation. We'd love to see you. You have classes that, well, typically your classes used to be in the same building, and now our building is being remodeled. So you're all over campus. But yes, you have the same type of resources available to you, campus mental health, insurance opportunities, those things as a campus student, you do have those available to you as
Yes.
well. And then somebody asked, so online can only do generalist practice and can't specialize. Well, so this is what I usually tell our online students in that case, because we don't have any explicit specializations for our online students, but you can specialize by doing internships in an agency that is geared toward your interest, maybe a hospital if you were interested in medical social work, things like that. If you want to work with children and families, something in your area that is in that population or working with that population, that would be for you to try to intern there. And then also your electives. So students in our program get to choose 4 electives during their time in the program. A campus student will take those electives if they're doing a specialization that are assigned for that specialization. So we let you know this internship or this elective is going to count for this specialization. When I did the child and youth specialization, I took that grief and bereavement class that Laura mentioned, that counted. Different classes like that, criminal justice, juvenile delinquency, those classes. Now with our online students, you get to choose any electives that you want. And we do offer a good variety each module. So we try to offer about 8 to 10 each module of electives. Some of our popular electives right now that are like new and hot and like I wish I could take: animal assisted therapy, medical social work, military social work. We do have grief and bereavement for our online students. Social work with LGBTQ population. So there is really something for everyone in terms of our electives. So you may not receive a piece of paper from our department after you graduate that says you had a specialization, but you can in that way tailor what you do, what you learn by doing electives in the interest that you choose to do so in your internships. Internships are so important, just like our alumni said. That gives you that hands-on experience in social work that you can that you'll be able to put on a resume, to market yourself, to gain experience, to gain connections in your community. So those, in those ways, you can specialize. It's just, you just won't receive anything from us saying that you have a specialization. And then also, and I see Denise Chasson is answering some questions in the chat. She is our Director of Student Services. So if you see her, what she's saying is right. It's not just like some random person. Let's see, any more for Kara? And what I'll tell you is they do a great job. They don't advise you as far as your academics, but they do remind you, hey, it's time to register. They check in. Hey, are you okay? Do you need to talk to your advisor? What's going on? Things like that. We work really closely with their office to make sure our students are successful. And they really do their part to keep our students successful as well.
What made me laugh is Sherrard had mentioned when she would fall asleep, somebody would tap her on the shoulder and wake her up. That's kind of what your learner concierge does. When they see you're slacking off, they're going to call you and be like, hey, what's going on? Do you need help? What do we need to do to make sure that you complete this class, you succeed? And then I did get a question from Cherie, which I am answering in chat. But our online format is through Moodle. It's very user friendly. And that is also what your learner concierges are there for, to help you with those questions. And if they can't answer them, they're going to get you in contact with like the ITS help desk that can help you with that. Also, as far as the support, so do you have access to the library and different things like that? That LSU online.lsu.edu website, there is a student support tab that you can go click through all of those to see what your options are.
Yeah, that's great information as well. Let's see, I'm going to catch up on some of these questions. If y'all have some more for Kara, please shoot them her way. We have a few more minutes. Someone said, I graduate with my bachelor's in social work May 21. Would I apply for advanced standing MSW on campus for August? Yes, so you would want to get that application in by March 1st for our campus advanced standing. March 1st. So you will want to apply by then. I know you're probably still in internship. Put in your application, submit your transcript to show your spring classes, but go ahead and start that application and get it completed. Will this recording be available to us after the meeting? I may send it out. Yes, I'll send it out to you guys. I am recording it, so sure.
I did get another question. Do we have many online students that go to work in clinical social work? I'm going to definitely let Frankie answer this, but to best of my knowledge, we have a ton that go into licensed clinical social workers.
Absolutely. So I'm an LCSW. I did the campus program. And one thing I think people sometimes have a misconception about online education is that it's somehow not the same or it's subpar. I can tell you, as someone who did our campus program, but also advises our online students and knows our online program like the back of my hand, there's no difference in the quality of education that you receive as an online student in our program versus what our campus students receive. Yes, the format is different, but you're learning the same material. You have the same expectations and oftentimes same instructors. So there's no concern, or there shouldn't be concern where that's concerned. But what I will tell you is that with our program, it is an advanced generalist practice degree. What that means is that with our degree, we prepare our students to go right into the workforce and practice social work. So you could go in as soon as you graduate, do your licensure exam, because you usually have to take one or at least register with your state board before you get a job, and you can work. In different states, the licensure may be different. So some may be in LCSW, some may be in LMSW. In Louisiana, you would test for LMSW first, then you would go through some supervision for an LCSW, and you would test again for LC. So that just depends. But yes, our students do practice clinically. We have plenty of students who do independent work online, private practice work, things like that. And so there's the same potential there for our campus students as there is for online. So yes, our students and grads do practice clinically for sure. And then I'm saying, do you offer a prep course or class to prepare for the LCSW exam? We do prepare, we do have our field office has modeled and some of our faculty have modeled a practice LMSW exam. So post MSW licensure exam, they do have a practice test for you all that our students are able to take as many times as they like, just to practice and get familiar with the material. For LCSW, we do not offer any type of a practice exam. Students are usually out of our program by then, or at least here in Louisiana with how our licensure is. But our field office does put on CEU trainings, and so those are really helpful to our community partners, that they're able to go to and do their professional development that way. So, okay, I think we're gonna thank Kara so much for tuning in with us. Your segment was so helpful, and I can't say enough wonderful things about what LSU Online does for us and our students in social work. Next, we have Devin Alexander, who is with the Office of Financial Aid. So many of your questions are about to be answered right now because you guys are asking, how does this work? What is the financial aid? Is it really $30,000? How does that, flesh out? So Devin, I'm going to throw it to you and feel free to take over.
Hi. So, hey, everybody. Hope y'all can hear me. I do have a quick PowerPoint set up. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so we can get that started. I am going to let you guys know that the PowerPoint is very general. So if you guys have more questions afterwards, just put them in the chat. Let me know. We're also going to be sharing our contact information, so you can reach out to us for that as well. So first, we have our team listed. Amy Merricks is going to be our director. You guys won't really speak with her much, but that's just most of it, FYI. For our on-campus students, we have Heather Kimball. She's going to be working with you guys. Her email is going to be htouch3@lsu.edu. If you're going to be in the online program, you'll be working with me directly, and then my supervisor, Brandy Martin, usually will come in if there's a busy time or, if there's anything else that we need to shoot to her. For our online students, you guys can reach out to LSU Online FinAid at lsu.edu. And for any questions about financial aid, if you just want to speak via phone instead, you can reach out at 225-578-3103. At that point, you'll be directed either to Heather if you're on campus or myself if you are online. So when we're talking about financial aid, we are generally talking about federal aid through the Department of Education or through the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. I know a lot of students do utilize federal aid during their undergraduate, so this is going to be a very similar process if that's something you've already done. If not, I'm just going to give you kind of like a quick overview of how you would start that process. Now, I have applied to LSU as a first step just because we don't actually award financial aid to students until we have that admissions application. Otherwise, we're just kind of holding your FAFSA until we get everything so we can see a complete profile of the student, know, are you doing online, are you doing on campus, what's your grade level, things like that. But your first step is going to be to go to studentaid.gov to complete that FAFSA. Right now, we are already working with the 2021-2022 FAFSA. So that's whether you're going to be campus or whether you're going to be online. At this point, you're going to be doing that 21-22 FAFSA to get your financial aid. So for online students, that's your summer start date. For our on-campus students, that's going to be that fall start date. Once we get that FAFSA, if we need any additional documentation from you, we'll let you know. We call that process verification. Graduate students typically don't have to go through that, but there are a few times where we'll need additional documentation, excuse me. It just depends. But if you guys do want additional information about how we handle that process on our side, you can go to lsu.edu/financial aid. There's going to be an apply for aid menu there, and you can kind of see what those steps are. So once we've got that FAFSA and we have everything, including documentation, we would automatically award you your financial aid and we'll shoot you an email to notify you of that. Now, graduate students, I'm going to get into this in more detail on the next slide, but you guys are eligible for student loans through the FAFSA, Pell Grant, other grants that you would be used to through the FAFSA as an undergraduate. Those are not available for graduate students, unfortunately. There are different programs that are available depending on your very specific needs. So, if there's something that you have a question about, just reach out to us. We can let you know if there's anything else available, but generally it's going to be your student loans. As a result of that, you do have to complete loan entrance counseling and then also a master promissory note to receive those student loans. If you've done them from undergrad or if you've borrowed undergraduate loans, most likely that's already done. But just a heads up, those are some things you might need to complete as well. Once that aid is awarded, you've accepted it, you'll be able to complete registration on that fee bill, which we'll get into that a little bit later. And then that aid automatically disperses. We get this question quite a bit. The aid does come directly to LSU first. And if any excess aid, if you've accepted more aid than what you need for tuition and fees, we would send that to you directly as a refund check. So again, information about this can also be found on our website. So I mentioned that loans are going to be what you are eligible for as a graduate student through that FAFSA. We have two types of loans offered to students. There is the direct unsubsidized loan and the graduate plus loan. So the unsubsidized Stafford loan, you'll be awarded up to $20,500 each academic year. When I say academic year, I mean starting with the summer semester and summer modules for our online students, summer semester, of course, for on-campus students. So we're talking about if you're going to be on campus and you're doing like fall or spring, you'll have $20,500 to be split between those two semesters. $20,500 for our online students is typically going to be split across all 6 modules. The expectation is that our online students will just attend the entire year. So that's typically what students will do. But of course, as Frankie mentioned, there is flexibility in that. If you need to skip a module or anything like that, you would just need to reach out to us so we can kind of discuss your specific needs at that point. So the unsubsidized Stafford loan is up to $20,500, but typically students are awarded more than that amount just because we expect you to have your tuition costs, any living expenses if you're not working full time and you just need additional funding, your books and supplies, different things like that. So any additional aid eligibility that you have would be awarded to you as a Graduate Plus loan. That's just going to vary. Say you're allotted $30,000 for an academic year. We give you that $20,500 in the unsubsidized Stafford loan. That remaining amount would be offered to you as a Grad Plus loan. And just FYI, it is subject to a credit check. So the unsubsidized loan, you just are awarded that. You don't have to do anything else besides that entrance counseling and the master promissory note. The Grad Plus loan, that one you do have to actually apply for those additional funds. And just FYI, scholarships are offered, but those are offered through the School of Social Work. Frankie can give you additional information about that. But when we're talking about our financial aid department, we are looking at just those federal loans. Anything with scholarships will be through the school. And then there's also a helpful website, Career One Stop. They have a scholarship finder. You can search through that and see if there are any scholarships from outside organizations that you can apply for. I can include that link into the chat once I finish my presentation. So as far as tuition and fees are concerned, on campus and online do have different fee schedules is what we call them. So Frankie mentioned about $7,000 per semester for our on-campus resident students. That'll be your tuition and fees, and then that'll be a little extra for books and supplies. For our online students, each MSW course comes to $1,617. That already includes tuition and any other fees. So, I mean, that is going to be that flat rate. Typically, what you'll do as an online student is then multiply that 17 times the number of courses you're taking for that module. So a lot of students may take 2 classes per module. 17 times 2 is going to be 32, 34. So that'll be your cost at that time. For our on-campus students, you're going to have your fee bill, which is just going to be your bill for that semester. Once the semester comes out at the beginning, you would either pay it up front using that financial aid or out of pocket. There are also deferred payment plans available to you. For our online students, they're released approximately every 8 weeks because there is that 7-week module, and then there's just a little bit of time before you jump right back into the next one. So at that point, you would pay that fee bill up front at the beginning of the module. And then there is a deferred payment plan available to online students if necessary, but the process is very similar for campus and online. It's just campus is going to be per semester, online is going to be per module. So if there are any other questions that you have, like if you are just wondering about any terminology, you can go to our website, lsu.edu/financial aid, and go to the resources tab. As far as any additional information about completing the FAFSA, your loan entrance counseling, and the master promissory note, those are going to be done at studentaid.gov. Before I close out everything, I did want to just pull up the tuition and fee schedules. So this is going to be for our on-campus graduate students. Like I was saying, or like Frankie was saying, the $6,713 plus a little extra if you're factoring books, that's going to be your cost for the semester. And then this is going to be for our online students. This does list every online program that we offer, but if you go down to the very last line, that's going to be your social work, where it's going to
Hey,
be
Devin, I don't think we
539
can
per.
see it.
Huh?
I don't think we can see it. We still see your PowerPoint.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on.
No, you're good. I
Let's
think you
see.
just didn't switch the screens.
Let's see. Share my screen. I think I see what I did. I think I was sharing PowerPoint specifically
Yeah.
and not the web browser. Sorry. But I'll go back to the on-campus one in a second. This is the online cost list that I was talking about. Social work is going to be all the way at the bottom, the $539 per credit hour. 16, 17 is going to be the total for each class, like I was saying. So if you're wanting to know what your cost is going to be per module, you would just multiply that 16, 17 times the number of classes that you're taking if you're online. And then for our on-campus students, this is going to be the fee schedule. Here's that 6,713 semester cost. And then of course, this is going to include all of your tuition and fees. Neither total is going to include books. That would just be a little bit extra. And I know it was mentioned that there are also VA benefits. I don't actually deal with those directly, but Inez Johnson is our VA counselor. The email for that is very simple. It's just va@lsu.edu. If you do have any questions about those benefits that might be available to you. Again, Heather Kimball is going to be working with our on-campus, students, and then I specialize with our online students. So if you do have any questions about anything and you're just not sure of the email, you can always email financialaid@lsu.edu. We can get you to the right person. But we definitely have a ton of resources available to students. So if you have any specific questions, just let us know. And then if you guys do have any specific questions in the chat, I'm happy to answer those for y'all. Financial aid can be kind of individualized. So it may be that we have to take some of your questions a little bit later where you reach out to us directly, but we're just here to help. So anything you guys need, just let us know.
Thank you so much, Devin. I'll tell you, I learned something because I don't understand financial aid at all. And typically when our students ask us a financial aid question, I'm like, Devin, Brandy, I need help. What is this? I don't answer those questions. And so when Devin says she specializes in our online students, I believe it 100% because I send them her way every single day. Devin, I did get one question and it was, let's see. If we have remaining semesters of TOPS, will that be applied for us?
Yes. So I did not include TOPS in there just because that is so specific. And I know that not all of our online students are going to be in-state residents, but I can tell you for online TOPS, we can definitely use those remaining semesters of eligibility. You do have to be full-time per LOSFA. So that is actually going to be 9 credit hours per term. Just kind of a brief overview, a term for our online students is going to be a set of 2 modules. So we're coming into the first summer and second summer modules starting in May and then in July. So that's going to be kind of our summer term. So you would just need to make sure that you have 9 credit hours between those 2 modules in a term to use TOPS. And then also you need to make sure that you're using your TOPS within 1 year of graduating from undergraduate. So, if you graduated in December, you're going to go ahead and need to use that TOPS this calendar year. After that, you would lose that eligibility. So if you have TOPS eligibility remaining, just reach out to us directly and we can guide you through that, let you know what you need to do to actually get that added on.
Thank you so much for answering that. I have that question fairly often and I'm always like, I think so.
Yeah.
So another thing that I like to mention right there and reiterate that I mentioned earlier is like in our online program, a full-time student will take 2 courses per module. So that's 2 weeks per a 7-week module. There are some modules where our students may not have anything to enroll in, and when you start our program, I mentioned that program of study that you have that will go and show you what to register for each module. If you see where you have one class or you're just an internship in a module, and we're starting to put that after some collaboration with Devin and Brandy, we're starting to write that out on our programs of study. Contact financial aid to see, how we can plan for your benefits and what you can use in those modules. Because the sooner we know, and the sooner they know, they're able to help you determine your need for aid and things like that. So they're really great with our students because the programs of study are so different in planning that. So a part-time student, like I said, would take one course per module, and then, but they work all of that out with you guys as far as your aid goes. We do the course planning and they do the money, and that's how we like it. And so they're really great with that. And with our campus students, we typically have more full-time campus students than part-time. And so a full-time course load is 4 classes with campus. So same thing, you would reach out to the Office of Financial Aid if you have questions about your aid that way. And especially if you're TOPS doing campus or online, if you have TOPS, make sure you reach out. You don't have to wait until you apply or you're admitted to reach out. You can reach out ahead of time as well. Let's see, any more for Devin?
Devin, I'm not sure if you went over this, I don't remember, but a lot of questions that we get are there payment plans? So alongside like the financial aid, are there payment plan options for our master's students?
Yes. So for our on-campus students, it's called a deferred payment plan for both sets. They are just different. So for on-campus, you would be paying like half of that semester cost or whatever your remaining cost is up front. And then the remaining cost would be split into 3 payments over the cost of the semester. So for example, if your total cost is, we'll say 7,000 for the semester, you pay 3,500 up front. The remaining 3,500 is split into those 3 payments. For our online students, it is similar. It's just that the turnaround is so much quicker between modules. So you would be paying half of your cost up front, and then about 3 weeks later, the remaining half is going to be due. So it's just going to be half up front, and then halfway through the module, you would pay that remaining cost. Those are done through the bursar's office on campus. So you can either contact them for additional information and to set it up, or you can do it through your fee bill in My LSU. There's just going to be a button at the bottom talking about setting up the deferred payment plan, and it's pretty simple to do through there.
Great. That was a great question, Kara. Thank you for asking that. And also someone asked about graduate assistantships. We do not offer any GAs or grad assistantships for our MSW students. Those are reserved for our PhD students. So we do not offer any grad assistantships in the School of Social Work. Regarding scholarships, nobody asked about scholarships. I cannot believe, so I'm just going to tell you. So we do not offer any funding for students coming into our program in their first year. We do have scholarship opportunities for students in their second year, what we call the specialist year of our program. Students who are in good standing with the university, with our department, you will be notified when it's time to apply for those. We used to award those in the fall, and now we're moving to award them in the spring. So even with our online students who don't really think in terms of fall, spring semesters, we still do it on that same schedule. And so if you are eligible at the time that they become available and you can apply, you're welcome to apply to them. So like I said, they are only for our specialist year students. And for campus, we also offer a few stipends that are associated with the specializations as well. And so there are some additional money opportunities, but we are social workers and we do like to spread the wealth. So, we try to make sure that if some student has a stipend, they may not necessarily need the scholarship. So that really is a case-by-case situation. I saw a a question. Let's see. How do scholarships work for students who are eligible for advanced standing? You will apply whenever our students who are coming in right now, actually for advanced standing, who are applying by that March 1st deadline, you will get the information for our scholarships, or either you will apply next year. So you will be able to do that. And Denise may jump in the chat on that one as well, about those scholarships for advanced standing campus students, or online as well. So, Devin, thank you so much for tuning in. That was so helpful. The information, like I said, if any of you ever email me asking about financial aid, wherever you are in the application process, I'm going to probably loop Devin in. And so, Kara, did you have something to add to financial aid?
No, I was just 100% agreeing with you. Any financial aid questions, I just send them right over to Devin.
Absolutely. She's wonderful. She's definitely an expert in her field. And so thank you so much, Devin, for tuning in with us today. It's so appreciated. And thank you for your help every day.
Of course, y'all just let us know if you guys have any questions. I did put the contact information into the chat, so just reach out.
Awesome. Thanks, Devin. And finally, before I give the last little how to apply to our program, is Miss Tracy Lilly. She is the Director of Field Education, and she really there she is. She just popped up. She is in North Louisiana right now with some snow, which is very unprecedented, as much as I hate to say that word. That's what we're dealing with. So I'm going to turn it over to Tracy, who's going to talk about our field experience for our online and campus students.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully I will not freeze. I have done that a few times, and so it's quite entertaining. Denise Chasson will tell you. But I am snowed in, and so I'm sorry I'm not in a better computer than where I am now. But field is definitely an important part of your experience at the MSW level. All of you, maybe coming from advanced standing, you had an undergraduate experience. And then for you that will be in our 2-year program, you'll actually have 2 internships while you're with us. And so I'm going to give just a little bit of information, and then I'll take any questions that you have. Let's talk about on campus first. And so if you are on campus, you are applying in the next few weeks, I guess, turning your stuff in. And so once you're admitted into the program and Student Services sends you a letter, we also send you a letter of information, and it will include about your internship, but it also includes an application. And so normally the generalist and the specialist, when you're on campus and go full time, you take 4 classes along with your field course for full time. And so you are in classes 2 days a week and you're in field 2 days a week. And so it's a pretty full time experience. And so if you're in our generalist year, you are internship usually Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays. In your specialist year, because our classes fall on Monday and Tuesday, you're in the field Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday based on how many hours that you need. So when you're on campus, it is a concurrent program. So you start your coursework and you start your field at the same time. Now, we do have a part-time program, and I don't know how much y'all have talked about that. Denise or Frankie can fill you in on that. But if you go part-time, it usually takes 2 classes a semester. Defer that internship until your 2nd year, then you'll start your specialist that 3rd year, and then do your internship in the specialist year in that 4th year. We don't have a lot of students that do our own campus part-time, but we certainly do, and I know they'll give you more information about that. As far as the application process, we will walk you through that, but we have agencies all across the state that we have contracts with, that we work with. And so you give us information in the generalist year. We do let you share agents you have interest in, but you don't necessarily select the agency. We do take your considerations into consideration, but it is a guide to kind of give us information. But in your specialist year, you're much more involved in that process. And I'm going to say at the end a little bit about an upcoming event that Tara, I think she just popped off, but Tara will give me a list of all our advanced standing applicants, and I'll be sending you more detail, but I'll tell you a little bit about it before we get off today. So the on-campus students, you are in classes 2 days a week and you're in field 2 days a week. And so that's a little bit of that overview. If you're online, it's a lot different because each person's program of study depends on when you get started. So I'm going to give you some general overview to let you know, but your program of study will be much more detailed to your experience in the school and when you would start to do internship. We place 2 times a year. So students either start in August or they start in January, okay? And you have 2 different options to be able to do your internship. You can do it 2 days a week over 4 modules. So this would allow you to be able to still work or do other things. And so you would be in the field 2 days a week. And when I say in the field, you're in an agency setting during normal business hours. And the reason I say that is one of the most asked questions we have is about evening and weekends. And I'm going to tell you, we are now in every state across the country besides, I think, North Dakota and Delaware today. And I can tell you, there are so few agencies that offer evenings or weekends. They may have services available to clients, but it's in a as needed. They don't have supervision coverage. It is not a good fit. So as you're planning to come in the MSW program, wherever you're going to get an MSW, field work is going to be expected. And so you need to make sure you've included that in your planning. I know in the application, there's a question for you to share also what your plans are. But the model of letting you do 2 days a week over 4 module really does allow you some flexibility. But we have other students that want to go full time. They're starting classes, they're ready to get it done. And so we offer a 40-hour a week format to where you complete all the hours that you need within 2 modules. So that's really, and Frankie, thank you for putting that slide up. You see the 2 different formats, either the 2-day a week over 4 modules or the 40-hour a week over the 2 modules. So I think I said instead of 4 modules on the part-time. I'm sorry if I said that. So 4 modules or 2 modules are your choices. And so we try to offer some flexibility because many of you are working. Another common question we get is, can I complete my internship at my place of where I work right now if it is in social work practice? CSWE does allow for some experiences at your work site, but we have very specific policies. One, sometimes the length of time that you've worked. It is normally a year. Right now, we have 6 months to 12 months. We've allowed that during COVID. Certainly it's been challenging, but you have to have had some work already there. You cannot be on probation, and the agency has to be large enough that it can allow you to learn in a different area of that agency, and that supervision is available. CSWE requires an MSW plus 2 years of experience. So the agency you intern with has to have a social worker with an MSW with at least 2 years of experience. In Louisiana, as well as some other states, you have to have an MSW that is licensed at the level of doing clinical work if you're doing clinical practice. So we work with you to make sure that that supervision is in place. So if you are outside of Louisiana, we do have obviously some agencies across the country because of the number of students we've had now graduate online, but we still, maybe in your area, we don't have any agencies right now with a contract. So we have 6 field placement coordinators. They have office hours every week on Wednesdays. They will meet with you. They will help you problem solve and look at agencies in your community. And what we ask you to do is that you call agencies that you have interest in being at, and you ask, do you have an internship program? Yes or no? Do you have a social worker on staff that can supervise? Yes or no? And so that's really all we need to know. You'll share that information in your application, and the field placement coordinator then calls that agency, works with that agency to get all the contracts, insurance, all of those things done. You'll interview with that agency to be able to secure a placement. All students on campus in Louisiana, on campus online, does not matter. You interview with agencies for placement. Also, as you're planning, be thoughtful about that sometimes agencies require background checks, drug tests, TB tests, those kind of things too. So there can be a little expense to go in to be able to intern at those agencies. So be thoughtful about that too. But it does not matter where you live. Our field placement coordinators are there to help support you, kind of help navigate those situations with you to find agencies in your. We also, just two other things. One is we have a field fair coming up. It is actually March 5th for all students in Louisiana, online or on campus. Is where all the Louisiana agencies that we have contracts with will participate in a field fair. It is virtual this year, and we'll be sending you more information, but it does not matter if you're online or on campus. It's for Louisiana. We are also looking for an opportunity for our out-of-state students, but that will be forthcoming. We do not have a date for that right now. The second thing is Frankie mentioned specializations, and certainly you'll learn more about that, but we have 4 in school that our students select. Right now, we're also in our last year of a grant through HRSA, which is a behavioral health training grant. And so we will be sharing information at the field fair. We'll also be emailing it to you because we have 30 stipends to provide for students for completing their internships for a $10,000 stipend. And so we will be sharing that. Also, Title IV through DCFS also has stipends. It does have a work commitment. So if you are awarded that stipend, you would have to work for DCFS for a year after your internship is over. But what a great thing to have a job when you finish. And so we do have a few, but certainly not as many as we would like. But we will be sending out more information about that. And so Tara will make sure that I have your email addresses. If you'll be in the specialist year coming in August in Louisiana, I will send it to you because DCFS and our HRSA grants require that you live in Louisiana. It has to be in a Louisiana-based agency. So that's a little bit of an overview. Frankie, do we have questions?
Yes, well, I have a few. Are the stipends that you mentioned for Louisiana, are those for online and campus or just
Yeah.
campus?
On campus and online, as long as you live in Louisiana.
Okay. And then I was wondering, could you tell our prospective students about the field liaison and the support that your office provides to students when they're in an internship, even if they're in another state?
Absolutely. So we have and this is really a common for MSW programs across the country, but ours certainly too. When you are in a field course, it is a class. And so you pay for that class, just like a course, it gets course credit. In fact, you will have 12 hours of course credit if you go through both years of the program. And you are assigned a faculty liaison as instructor. And so they will reach out to you. They help provide information, support. They also provide support to your agency. We also provide free continuing education for supervisors across the country. And so we've really had success in working with partners actually all over the country. So we're excited about that too. But yes, absolutely.
Another question I think you may have said, but not sure. Are there paid internships?
Yeah, very few paid internships. Some, and we have none that we actually pay, but there are agencies that may offer a stipend. The VA often has those, but all of those are done within the agency setting. They're not done through LSU. As Frankie shared earlier, we do love to spread the money, but unfortunately, many of the organizations, as you can imagine, in social work are nonprofits, state agencies. They just do not have the funding as maybe in other disciplines to offer those type of stipends. So, but it doesn't that it never happens, but it is very rare.
And what about work site? Or what if I've been working about, a few months or a year in a social work agency or a social service agency? Is there a possibility that I could intern there?
Yeah. As I shared, and if we'll send this link when you're admitted to give more information, but you do have to have been there a year. but you also have to obviously not be on probation, but the agency has to be large enough to allow you to work in a different area. And they also have to have an MSW plus 2 years of 2 years of experience to provide the supervision.
Thank
But
you.
we're also happy to answer those questions. A lot of time people will have very unique things in their job. There's also sometimes your employer would like to talk to someone from the school to understand the process more. We do have a written policy. We have an application that you fill out, but I also many times talk to employers just to kind of problem solve, because sometimes it can be worked out. They just sometimes don't know exactly how to go about doing it.
And Tracy, I was wondering if you would share a little bit about what your office has done during COVID to accommodate for, the change that we all know took place last year and things like
Yeah.
that, and the path forward for our students that are about to begin.
Yeah, it's certainly an unprecedented time. It's the first time in the history of the Council on Social Work Education they have allowed students to receive internship credit in a remote format, a virtual format. So we have about 560 students in field right now, and about 68 of them are doing a remote placement. And so that means they are virtually with us 8 or 10 hours a week doing activities through field training, seminars, skills labs, supervision. They're doing community outreach and engagement projects virtually, but they also have just about 450 hours of trainings that they can participate in. And they are assigned a field supervisor the same way that a student in an agency base, the same requirements, the same expectations, the same competencies, everything is done, but through remote. We are ending though in May of 21. Our hope is that we will not be in the same place that we are in the fall, but we certainly have a commitment to make sure that everyone is safe. And so if we would need to, we certainly will, but that is not the plan at this point. We want you in the agency setting. The field experience, most MSW, if you talk to an MSW, they're going to tell you is their field experience is where they really learned what social work was. They learned what they loved and they learned what they didn't like too. But it's an important piece. I did see a few other questions too.
Yeah.
Someone asked, can you find your own internship? And if you are out of state, you absolutely are looking at agencies and sharing that information. If you're in state, we ask that you look at the list of agencies we have approved already. But if you see in your community that you're interested in and you do not see them listed, all you have to do is email that to the placement coordinator and they contact that agency directly. This is in Louisiana. They call them and try to make sure they meet the requirements, but we absolutely do work with you. I saw an intern DCFS question too, Frankie, but I don't think I saw the whole question.
It says, I currently intern for DCFS. Would I be able to continue to intern there as well as work there in the MSW program?
You very possibly can. They are very supportive right now of doing that because they really want to have a broader workforce with an MSW, but they have to work with us to place you in a different area at least 2 days a week so that you get a different experience. But it is not unlikely that would happen. As we said, now we have a high number of DCFS students, not just in Louisiana, but the other is Mississippi. I don't know if any of you are on, but really they have been very supportive of you doing that. I saw another question too, but I missed it.
There's one, it's from the same person, Emily, who asked, can you find your own internship in Louisiana if you're on campus? Emily works for the VA right now and would like to talk to the Baton Rouge office about transferring there. And she also asked, where can we find the list of approved agencies?
Yeah, two things. One is if you're an employee of the VA, you absolutely can talk with your employer about how they could support you educationally. In regards to the list of agencies, once you are admitted into the program, Frankie and them send you the information to get on Moodle, and we have a list of all the agencies there. And so you will have that active list. We don't publish it to you until you're admitted, but you will get access to that along with everything else that you're going to need too.
Do you guys have a agency list of existing relationships in other states as well?
We do, and it's geographically by states, and it is available for students just like in state.
great. That's great. Any other questions for Tracy? We usually have tons of field questions, and she's been so great and so gracious to tune in with us today.
For inviting us.
Absolutely. And if you guys have any other questions regarding field, is there someone in your office that they can email with those questions?
Yeah. If email me, because whoever's going to be on talking to you will make sure not, we don't want to send you to 10 different other people. But if you're out of state, then you have someone for your state. It's actually posted on Moodle, but I'll send you and connect you and introduce you to that person. If you're in state, you're going to talk to Ashley Borgmeyer, but we will get you to the right person.
And your email is tlily@lsu.edu, right?
Yes,
I use it.
TLILLEY at
And
LSU.
I put it in the chat for you all. I'll just
Okay.
share a little bit. Tracy was my back supervisor after graduating with my MSW and got me all the way through to LCSW. So some of you will get great back supervisors like I have and cherish those relationships as well. So I
And
use
let me tell you, for so many of you today, particularly for so many of you that are advanced standing, as Frankie was, I'm telling you, whether it's online or on campus, it really is such a short time to get that graduate degree. And she thought she would never get licensed, it would be forever, but it really does. It goes quicker than you think, and it has so many more opportunities within LCSW. So I encourage you, if you have your degree in a bachelor's, a BSW, which I did myself, I'm going to tell you the best thing you'll ever do is get an MSW.
Right. And, Tracy wasn't able to be with us a little earlier when our alumni talked, but they all said, Tracy, they all said how important the field experience was and how much it helped them shape what they wanted to do as a social worker and where they are now. Even we heard from Laura Van Swam, who is in the Netherlands. And so,
Yes.
but she really talked about how important that field education is. And
Yeah.
really our
It-
students,
it's
that's where they do
this
the
part. It is. If you're full time in the program and you're just full time, then you're going to incorporate field like everything else. But when you're having to work and do that, we know it's one of the hardest parts. But I'm telling you, MSWs across the country, there's no MSW program that can be accredited without having the field part. And I'm going to tell you, you want us to prioritize that. You want us to make sure that you are prepared to go in and work with some of the most challenging and vulnerable populations you're going to. We want you ready.
absolutely.
And what a time to be a social worker right now.
Yeah,
Wow, the
one of
opportunity.
those things, right? What a time to be alive and be in this profession. And so the world needs social workers and needs you guys to get your MSW so you can get
Yes.
on it.
Yeah.
Tracy, thank you so much for sharing with us today and for giving your contact information. If they have other questions, we so appreciate you and what your office does for us.
Well, listen, if you pray, send up Psalms, whatever, meditate, that the snow melts and I get to leave tomorrow. So I know.
Absolutely. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right, so now I've heard tons of, or read tons of questions about what we are doing and how do you apply to our program because you love everything you've heard. And so you're ready to apply and you haven't started that process. So I'm just going to share my screen with you and we're going to talk about that as we wrap up. If you guys have questions for me, put them in the chat. I'll get to them after we go through the slide. All right. All right, are y'all hanging in with me? Hang in there, guys. We're almost done. I hope you're enjoying your time with us. So I'll talk about our admissions requirements for a bit. Of course, you need a bachelor's degree from an accredited college or university. Your degree could be in anything. We have people in our program who started with a bachelor's degree in photography. No matter what it is, we do welcome we welcome people from all disciplines. A demonstration of liberal arts in the undergrad preparation, and these are usually your prereqs to your undergrad degree, depending upon how long ago you graduated. If you're not sure you have these, the 12 hours of social and behavioral science and the 9 hours of humanities, you can always shoot us an email. We'd be happy to look at your transcripts and things like that. But typically students do have these already. Now, if you're in one of those more niche degrees, like an art degree or a psych, or not psych, but a photography degree, you may want to check that out. So we have had students go and pursue those, not the 9 and 12, and then apply. Our only real prerequisite to our program is a C or better in an introductory statistics course. During the course of this, I've had people ask, does my stat statistics count? What kind of stats? Any introductory statistics, your psych stats counts. That cannot be a research-based course, but it's just a math statistics. And Kara mentioned as well, we do have a few that we recommend that are online. If you reach out to either Kara or myself after this, we can send you the links to those. One that we typically recommend is through the Kent School of Social Work. It's an online self-paced stats course. And we've had our applicants finish it in as little as 6 weeks. Now, if you're applying to campus and you don't have a stats course, you may not finish one in time to apply. Most students with a BSW that are applying for advanced standing, you probably have a stats course that you had to take during your BSW. So that stats course is super important, and it is a prerequisite. It is required. Applications won't be considered complete if the stats requirement isn't met. So like I said, it's just a math stats course. If you've taken any kind of stats, and if you're not sure, you can always ask us about the course in particular. And then the GPA, there's a GPA of at least a 3.0 on all undergrad work. So we do look at your cumulative GPA, and then we also look at your last 60 hours. So say your cumulative was a little below a 3.0, we will also evaluate the last 60 hours. That last 60 hours is typically like your last 2 years in the program. And so we'll evaluate that. Our grad school calculates those for us, and we will look at that. Now, if you have any grad work, if you have at least 9 hours of grad work already completed at another university, we'll look at that GPA as well. But if you've taken any grad work, we've had people complete PhDs, we take all of that into consideration. And of course, meeting minimum requirements does not guarantee admissions. We don't have any caps on admissions, so we don't only admit 50 people at a certain time or anything like that. We do not require the GRE for admission to our program. I saw that question. So you don't have to submit scores for that. If you started your application and you see a box for GRE, you can just bypass that. That part of the application is generic, and it's for all of the departments on campus. So we have a waiver with our grad school, so our students do not need the GRE. And if you have scores and submit them, it's really not going to have any weight on your application. How to apply to our program. Of course, you'll start with that grad school application. Many of you, when you set up this appointment, you went through our Apply Grad site. So you'll just go back and you can start your application there. And there's a $50 non-refundable application fee. So if you were denied, we don't give you that money back. That's money the grad school has. It doesn't really come to social work. Kara also mentioned in the chat that the LSU online enrollment concierge, they do have some fee waivers right now. So if you contact Kara or one of them, they would probably be really happy to give you one of those fee waivers and help you through the application process. The letter of intent, that's one of the most important parts of your application. This is what I go over with applicants and prospective students all the time. Our letter of intent, the instructions are found within the application. So until you start an application, you won't see them. There are some guidelines there as far as format. They ask that you set things up and break it up into header format, some of the questions. You will be asked to refer to our code of ethics in that and things like that. They really want to know what your understanding is of social work, what has brought you to want to pursue an MSW, and how you plan to accommodate that field component of our program. If you haven't noticed by now, field is super important to us. And so we want to know how you're going to plan that in your life. They don't want to hear things like, oh, well, I plan to work it out. Like Laura said, her husband was a professor at LSU and she was able to not work. If you don't have to work, say I'm able to dedicate all my time to my studies. If you have to work, like I did when I was in the program, you say I'm looking for a job that's maybe nights or weekends so I can do focus on my internship, things like that. Our faculty reads every single file that comes through our department. So what you'll want to think about and remember is that that's the first writing sample our faculty will see from you. So I always tell people, even if you're the best writer, have someone proofread that. There's nothing wrong with having a proofreader or two, having a few sets of eyes on your paper. If you're applying to other programs, make sure you're submitting our letter of intent. Just those simple things can go a long way. You want to make sure you answer the questions there and follow the page requirement. Then you'll need a current resume or vita. That doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It could be the same type of document that you use for a job. It doesn't have to be tailored to your education. Now, if you've not had much professional experience, you can do that. That's totally up to you. And we will need one official copy of all transcripts from universities you've attended. If you've attended LSU, you do not have to submit that because we can pull those for you. We can work with your application with unofficial transcripts. The grad school will require official transcripts to admit you. So you might get admitted provisionally, but until you submit those professional or those official transcripts, but you can use some unofficial as well. I always recommend right now, since we are working, as you'll see, I'm in my house, we're working remotely. And so I always tell people it's best to submit, if you can, send those transcripts electronically through grad transcripts at lsu.edu, send them there, because postal mail on campus always takes a long time to process, but even more so now that we're not there every day. So it would just be the safest bet to do grad transcripts at lsu.edu. And then 3 recommendation forms. You'll see that I didn't say letter. We no longer require recommendation letters. So whenever you go into your application, you'll see a little box under recommendations, and that box says recommendation form for social work and child and family studies. Click that box. Then you'll fill out the form and input your recommender's information there. So you'll put in their name, their email address, and everything, whatever it asks for. And then the system's going to send your recommender the form. After they send the form, the recommender fills it out and they'll submit it on your behalf. So you really don't have much to do with that part of the application process. You have the option to waive your right to see those and things like that. Some frequently asked questions. Can I apply to our program, or can I apply to your program while I'm still taking stats? You can begin your application, but like I said before, your application won't be considered complete until the statistics prerequisite is met. Another question I typically get about that is, who would be a good recommender? So how I usually answer this question is, who would not be an appropriate recommender? So your pastor would not be a great recommender. Your therapist may not be a great recommender. Your mom, sister, brother, aunt, cousin may not be a great recommender. Now, if you've done volunteer work at your church or your place of worship, and you want to do a volunteer coordinator or something that can speak to your volunteerism, that's great. things like that. There's always, maybe you work with a family member, there's some boundaries there, and those kind of things are really important to maintain. So if you can, you want to get professional references. Now, for students who are applicants who graduated from or graduated from their their undergrad in over 2 years, we don't expect any type of academic references for you because that might be difficult to find. You would submit all professional references. So a coworker, your boss, a task manager, things like that would be appropriate. If you have relationships with your previous professors from your undergrad, you're welcome to submit those as well. Typically, we do look for 2 academic references and 1 professional. If you submit, and some people have come from online undergrad programs, and so they maybe didn't make a meaningful relationship or connection with their instructors. In those cases, you're welcome to also submit professional references. If you fall under any of those categories where you're going to submit all professional references, the only thing that we ask is that you attach a brief statement in the miscellaneous document section of your application that says the reason why you're submitting all professional references. So I am Frankie Johnson, and I am submitting all professional references because I have been out of school for X amount of years, or I was in an online program where I didn't really make many relationships with many of my professors, things like that. So we know we have people in our program, we have so many students all across the spectrum, people who are retiring and want to try an MSW, people who have been in other fields. So those recommendations are important, but as long as we know why you're submitting all professional references, you'll be fine. And then let me see, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so I can see you guys again and look at the chat. Does our statistics in social work count? Yes, it does. Lisa said, I took the Kent school. It's pretty good. Well, that's good to know. I've applied for first summer module. How soon will I know if I've been accepted? That's a great question. Once you submit your application and all the supporting documents for our program, you'll be getting a letter from typically Tara Landry, letting you know your application is complete. Once that application is complete, we send it to our faculty to review. So typically from the time your application is complete, it takes 2 to 3 weeks before we get a decision back to the applicant. So it's not a long time, and we do have rolling admission. So if you were interested right now in applying for our October module, you could go ahead and start the application for that. How long does it take to evaluate a transcript? I'm not sure if that's the whole application or not, but like I said, it's about 3 weeks for us to get a decision back to you. As far as transcript evaluation, if you've sent one to maybe me or someone else, it just depends. I'm not quite sure. Any other questions about the application process? I know I saw one about the average GPA that we accept into our program. Our students range anywhere. Typically, our BSWs have 4.0s, some don't. We have people with, like I said, 3.0s. 3.3 is really a good mid, kind of like an average for us. But like I said, we do take a holistic approach to the application review process. And in doing so, we look at the whole application. We look at that letter of intent. Why are you interested in our program, and why do you want an MSW? We look at your recommendations, your transcript. We look at the whole file, not just your GPA. And so even students, even if there's an applicant with a 4.0, if something is concerning or an issue, that doesn't guarantee admission. A 4.0 doesn't guarantee that. So we do look at every single file that comes through our department in order to make those decisions in a meaningful way. We need a separate transcript for each school we have been to. Yes. So we will need, if you went to community college, we'll need that transcript. Like I said, you can start with unofficial transcripts, but eventually the grad school will require all official copies of your transcript. So we do need a transcript from each school you have attended. Hey, Kara.
Hey, I just want to go off of that as well. A lot of times our students that apply will forget about dual enrollment credits, or they took a course at one school, but the professor was hired through another. So those are all hidden transfer credits that are show up on the transcript that the graduate school will look at as well. So it is, the way I state it is any credits earned from an institution, not just attended. So that is a great thing to note.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a great point that I didn't even think about. So thank you for contributing to that. I want to thank you all so much for attending today and hanging out with us for a few hours. Please, if you have any questions or any comments, anything that comes to your mind after you attend this, I'll be sending you guys some information afterwards as well. But I'm going to put my information in the chat. And you can feel free to reach out to me. My email is fjohn26@lsu.edu. I'd be happy to speak with you or set up a time to to have a call with you. I'll answer this one last question. Can a person take an online course and then decide to take social work classes on campus? So that's a great question. We do have students who sometimes start our program one way and then switch to campus or online. It's a very fine line there because, as you probably know from this presentation, everything is different between online and campus as far as tuition structure, the order of the classes, and things like that. So we typically only allow students to switch one time, and it's after their first 30 hours in the program. So that's after the generalist year is complete, including that internship. So that it's a kind of a case by case situation because, as I mentioned, we only have one start date for our campus program as well. So you would also have to be right in that window of time or wait for a while. So it's possible. It's just always, sometimes it's not feasible for our students and what they'd like to do as far as if they'd have to take a break to wait to jump in and things like that. But once again, thank y'all so much for attending today. Y'all have asked some great questions and we so look forward to seeing your applications come through. Y'all have a great day.